Hello and welcome to Divine Astro. To all my viewers, as a first of the trance into the series of planets, we are going to start with the swiftest of all planets, that is Moon. I would say technically it is the most priority of the planets, which does holds a greater value in your horoscope or your birth chart. The reason being is like your emotional fulfillment can only be accomplished or can be fulfilled by the placement of moon, and that it where your mind does gravitates about. This is the beauty of having the moon. In the most way we say as in Hindi, Chandar man ka karak. The reason that is why we wish to state, because all of your inner emotional fulfillment, your emotional level, your logically to be getting yourself fulfilled. If you see from every aspect, that is moon. That is the reason it is at 4 degrees be at the highest of the point in the Taurus. Well, to the series we are going to start how does it is for all of the ascendants. Before to this, for all my new viewers, if you like the content of the one where we used to know discuss with our monthly horoscope, how exactly the planetary transits and in much of the topics, please do like, share and subscribe to the channel. Well, to start off with, the very first ascendant, that is the Aries ascendant. For Aries, Moon is the no lord for the fourth house, and if we understand, it is primarily the no comfort, the your mother, your own self, your own no like how you can say like no your self owned family, everything does comes at your at your fourth house, and exactly that is how the things are. A well placed moon well gives you know the kind of visibility, how your home has to be, what is the soothingness which comes to each one of us, that is your own self, that is your moon. And in particular, does moon plays a vital role. Having a stronger moon does gets you fulfilled at your home front, your comforts, your mother does be no gives you the kind of love and caring. Everything stays fulfilled if you are a Aries rising or a Aries ascendant. The second, that is for the Taurus. For the Taurus, Moon is the ruler of third house. Third house is our communication, our expression, our learning process, the churning within us, which does reflects the no gravity which we does hold. That is nothing but our moon. And in particular, being as the third house ruler, does it gives you the no most, that is the reason we used to say it is the like moon in the Taurus is the most of the strongest. That is the only reason being we used to say that gives you the no visibility, the way life it is, how you see from your own self. Also it gives you a pivotal your own like no physical level, not only at your mental level. That is why it is so strong. That is the only reason why it is so strong in the Taurus. The third, that is our Gemini ascendant. For the Gemini, moon is the ruler of your second house. Second house is your family, is your speech, is your no means of your wealth. That is where you see moon. That is the reason why it is one of the most karaka bhavas, or you can say like no one of the most well placed moon does gives you the desirable amount of benefit, the kinds of like no what you can say like the sustainable wealth. Whenever we do talk about people building the legacy is only and only because of having a strong second house. To be very pinpoint out here, the reason moon is so vital for the Geminians. And in particular, if you see moon also brings you the kind of past life, like no the fulfilled deeds which you have did at your part of life and is going to bestow you in this life. That is how it does works for all the Geminian ascendants. If we talk about the fourth, that is our Cancer ascendant. For the Cancer, it is I would say as the Lagna Lord, the very strong intuitive, you own your own self, because it works as like as if like the most empathy, the most like one who can feel the kind of pains, one who can feel the kind of agonies, one is the most concerned, are the reason we say are the cancer ascendants. They can able to visualize what is the kind of things which is happening around them. That is one of the reason we say the most of the blessings, whenever it does comes to any of the signs, the number one it comes as the cancer ascendant. The reason is like the moon is reasonably comfort, moon is your mind, your kind of devotion to the almighty, so they don't go with no prioritizing ifs and buts. They are so focused because of having the moon as the ascendant. That is why it is all about everything has got a reason of its own. The fifth, if we talk about, that is the Leo ascendant. For the Leo rising, this is morely the 12th house. For the 12th house, if we see, this is where moon the pains or the kinds of learnings, the lessons learned because of something which goes as a private for the Leo guys, that goes deep down. They are not one of the guys those who usually very easily burst up. They take and consume to greatest of the magnitude due to their own self. That is how it does works for all the Leo natives. I would say it is reasonably, the moon has to be in a very comfort zone. It has to be in the ninth, fifth, fourth, that we usually should give you a reasonable amount of balance. But yes, if we talk about the Virgo ascendant, for them it is the 11th house, where it is primarily the social circles, the friendships, the channelizing of your networking. That is how it does works with a strong moon. For the Virgo natives, usually create the aura within their own self. They used to showcase their own self, used to demonstrate their own self before the lot of the where you can say of your diaspora. These are the people who used to have very strong presence within the one in a million, as we used to state. They are able to make themselves so much of glossy in self, to the entire world, because of getting a very strong moon and for the social circle which they does purchase. This is how it does begins off with. The Libra natives, for the Libra ascendant and the rising sign, moon does works primarily as the 10th house lord. That is how you used to go about fulfillment of your career, also thereby getting the kind of recognition which suits your own self. That is how the soothing comes within oneself is for the Libra natives, because the elevation in the career becomes the what you can say as the yardstick for this set of people. That is only because if you have got a strong moon, you would be able to achieve it to a greatest of the extent. This is how it is so beautifully been out there. Of all the planets, this is absolutely moon which is been does rules the majority part of your life, because with every 2 days it does send the sign. That is the reason it does brings so much of importance, it does upholds with itself. Now, if we talk about the Scorpio ascendant, for the Scorpio, it is the 9th house, where the being the 9th house lord, if you see the higher education, if you talk about pilgrimage, if we talk about the very core devotion that does pours from your heart, and literally if you see a Cancer moon, where you have got the in the Cancer zodiac, if you have your moon and if you are a Scorpio ascendant, these are the set of souls which have literally elevated from the heaven, because they are the one who does understand the empathy to the greatest of any sign can ever been perceived. They are the chosen ones who literally have got literally a good heart within their own self, a beautiful mind, if you would say. That won't be also anything less than this. So that is how for a Scorpio ascendant, moon is so pivotal. It gives you the immense amount of energy. Your aura comes with the much and betterment of your moon, if I would say literally, for the Scorpio ascendant. This is how the beauty does lies by. The Sagittarius rising and for the Sagittarius ascendant, Moon does works as the 8th house lord. What is exactly the 8th house? It is your deep internal, what you can say, like introspection. It is your the kind of like accomplishment which you always been longing over the period of time. It is your deep self which is been pretty much within you. It is a more way, I would say, a greater amount of transformation which does goes into achieving higher amount of wisdom. That is how does moon work for all the Sagittarius natives. This is literally a one which is been absolutely great transformation which they used to bring it up, having a stronger moon, because end of the day it is mind, your emotional churning, everything lies within your own self, and that is to a very greatest of the amount stays as dissatisfied. The reason is like Sagittarians always look for the kind of the piousness. They look for the kind of the the validations from the emotional perspective is one of the biggest of the reason why it does happen for the Sagittarius guys. Talking about the Capricorn natives, for them it is the 7th house lord. It does works in the relationship, the partnerships, your channel. This all works off with to the very most of the extent, that is your moon. And in particular, if you have got a strong moon, you are going to not only have a very beautiful groom or a bride, it is also more equivalently beautiful mind does comes with that. That is why you need to you get to have a best of the partners if you have got a stronger moon, particularly for the Capricornian ascendants and for the rising sign. This is how the beauty does upwards. The Aquarius ascendants and for the rising, the them the moon comes as the ruler of the 6th house. This is where the emotional stability, the emotional growth comes by the means of doing charity, service, overcoming challenges. This is how it does means is one of the signs where you used to see they are the most of the afflicted ones. The Aquarius natives used to seek this kind of validation over the period of time. What had been wrong, it is absolutely not being wrong. It is the the prarabdha which does comes with it. It is very very essential with the acute importance. You need to do a greater amount of charity, feeding the needy ones in any format, feeding the the dogs, feeding the cows, because that brings a greater amount of well-being. That is, this well-being is your emotional well-being. That is what you had been longing for. The last but not the least, it is the Pisces ascendant. For you it is the 5th house lord. This is morely about the relationship, it is morely about the romance, the where you can say your world as a whole. That is how the Purva Punya Bhava of where you wish to say. So this is one of the most of the beauty of the signs. If your moon is being placed off with, moon gets the the eternal strength. Rather from an inner strength, I would say the eternal strength. If it is in the Pisces, is one of the reason we wish to say it. You begin to spread happiness, love, affection within the family. That is why Piscean signs are one of the best of the signs. Whenever it does comes about the making a greater amount of sacrifice, a mother which does a greater amount of sacrifice just for the well-being of their own children, for their own spouse, for all the family members. That is how the beauty does it holds by. If I would say in a very nutshell, moon is absolutely in a greater of the satisfaction, or you can say moon is in a greater of the state if it has been placed in the Aries ascendant, if it has been placed in the Pisces ascendant. Aries being as the what you can say as the very first of the sign, I would say as the Cancer ascendant where it has been placed. If it has been placed in the Pisces of the for us for the, if it placed in the Pisces for the Pisces ascendant, if it has been placed in the particularly for the Scorpio, it is also gives a greater amount of, because being at the 9th house, it is how it has been placed. So this is something a very small, dynamic, but it is worth to know how does your inner self does supports you with the placements of moon. Hope it gives you a greater amount of visibility.